I would now like to introduce the next item in our program, and I am pleased to leave the floor to the President of EPMA, Mr. Philippe Gundermann, who I am sure is well known to many of you. Mr. Gundermann will now present a review of the PM industry from a European perspective.
Good morning, everybody. Dear delegates, dear colleagues in powder metallurgy, dear PM friends, it's a pleasure to be here today with you in Hamburg and to give an overview of our PM industry during this plenary session. I believe it is important to share what are the current status and the trends of our European PM industry, a sector that has been very dynamic and very successful these last years. I would like to start my presentation with a general picture of the economy and industry before going to the trend survey of PM in automotive, aerospace, and all the different sectors, and commenting other major developments. First of all, as regards European economic growth, 2015 has been, as you know, a year of global growth for the EU countries. According to IMF, 2016 should confirm this trend, even if somehow reduced. Of course, if markets reacted firstly badly to the Brexit, no major economical or financial crisis has broken out. Nevertheless, some elements may be seen as some potential risks. First of all, regarding the situation of uncertainty in the meantime, with potential spillover effects, because the final details of the Brexit haven't been set yet. Personally, I would suggest to be very cautious with the forecasts for the next years, taking all that into account, as well as because of the current deceleration of the stimulus on China's economy. Now, I would like to share with you some major external trends that may impact our powder metallurgy industry and its whole economy. As shown on the graph, raw material price index is at its lowest level since the last 14 years. World commodities have dropped to their 2005 level. The sharp decline in London Metal Exchange traded metals like copper and nickel illustrates such change in our economic environment. This chart illustrates the changes in the raw material prices over the last 18 months. Iron ore prices have halved, and tungsten prices are also oriented downwards despite the support of the Chinese players for their tungsten industry. The impact of such variations on our industry can be diverse. Firstly, volatility. Volatility is a risk as it can induce discrepancies in prices between purchased and sold metals. This implies to follow very strictly the pricing mechanisms not to be squeezed in one direction or another. Secondly, of course, low metal prices are seen as a plus for end users. On the other hand, high prices induce more impetus to substitution to powder metallurgy, as powder metallurgy route is a process which consumes less metal. Let's also comment the sharp decline in oil prices as well as in coal prices. You could believe that this has a positive impact on energy costs, but this is highly dependent on how are structured the pricing mechanisms in the different member states for electricity. It is indeed not always the case that oil and coal prices variations translate into electricity costs for our companies. I believe it is of utmost importance to continue to explain to our stakeholders how much energy price is vital for our competitiveness and that we need to be supported in this respect. Indeed, the diversity of taxation and pricing mechanisms throughout countries has rendered the fall of oil and coal prices more beneficial for some than for others. In 2015, we have been able to get some first measures that are a positive step to the right direction. While talking about powder metallurgy, automotive industry now needs to be emphasized because it is a driving sector for our PM industry. It is of utmost importance to recall that European cars, and you will see some speakers this morning explaining that in more details, that European cars contain approximately 10 kilos of PM part each. More than 12 million Europeans, 5.6% of the European labor force, currently works directly or indirectly for the automotive sector. They produced in 2015 more than 18 million cars, vans, trucks, and buses. This gives us a fleet close to 300 million motor vehicles in Europe. We can also take notice that 23% of the world vehicle production is of European origin. By the way, it is interesting to mention that Europe is by far the first automobile fleet with no less than 250 million passenger cars. Car registration in the EU states follows the same trend than the European car production, with a continuous increase. It may even reach a comparable level to its 2008 registration level by the end of this year. The European car production follows also the same trend, with a production forecast of more than 18 million passenger cars for 2016. Besides manufacturing activities, automotive industry also fosters strong R&D in Europe. The automotive industry invested 45 billion euros in research and development in 2015, such amount representing 5% of its turnover. Annually, 6,000 patents are registered in this domain. The innovative driving forces can be summarized in two words: safer and cleaner. Some example for road safety in our PM field can be stated: ABS sensor rings, core plates, or parts for brake system pumps. In the decade to come, automotive research will indeed focus on transportation rationalization, safety, and environmental impact for increasing mobility needs, with the growing share of alternative fuel cars. Some examples of PM contributing to reducing environmental impact can also be shared: valve seat rings for advanced emission fuels, VVT, variable valve timing, or even components for advanced transmission, reducing emissions. I would like to continue now with a focus on the aircraft industry, which is a new sector where PM parts and PM technologies are developing. A main industry that is an increasing user of PM is indeed the aircraft industry, as PM products are being developed in the new aircrafts. I can report a lot of developments, prototypes, tests, and studies introducing PM parts in the aerospace sector, through additive manufacturing, for example. If we take a look to the world aircraft order book, it remains very high all around the world, with 32,000 new aircrafts to be manufactured until 2034. It is a strong and positive signal for our medium-term PM sector perspectives. Now, I would like to continue the presentation with a focus on PM industry itself. What are the current trends? First trend to report is that we have seen in Europe a very strong PM parts production in 2015, with more than 235,000 tons of manufactured parts versus 228,000 tons last year. It represents a plus 3% growth, which reflects the global vitality of our industry that has been sustained in its growth. The graph shown here is in tons, dominated by ferrous parts, those being especially destined for automotive industry. This perspective in tons minimizes the other sectors like metal injection molding, hard materials, diamond tools, semi-parts, where production volumes are smaller. But with prices ratio up to 20 in comparison with ferrous parts. Additive manufacturing, of course, even if it is still too small to appear on the chart, is a hot topic and concentrates dynamic development for the time being. To conclude, I would say that the global picture of the European PM industry reflects strength and sustainability. If now we try to estimate the related values, you can notice how it gives a more rebalanced view on the situation in each segment with regard to the market share. The total PM industry is evaluated above 10 billion euro in Europe in 2015. Some contrasts, of course, remain between countries in terms of PM industry recent dynamics, with, as already said, a flourishing PM industry in Northern Europe, Austria, Germany, a fair one in Spain or France, Italy being in a more contrasted situation. Let's start with the structural parts sector. As we can see, the European powder metal shipments for PM applications are positively oriented. The main contributor is the ferrous structural parts. The year 2015 was clearly back to pre-crisis level. Automotive accounts for 85% of this PM submarket. Competition can be observed with other technologies, I mean PM versus other technologies like such as forging or stamping. According to the latest trend survey, 2016 business should confirm this trend and this growth with an increase in parts produced. In this sector, our vision for PM consists of developing value-added products in Europe, vertical integration, zero-defect production, and also improved properties like UTS. I would like also to mention that new challenges and new opportunities are there with hybrid cars. Rapid development of electric cars is likely to be watched very closely because electric could be a very disruptive technology. The second PM sector we are going to look at is the metal injection molding sector. Here are reported the MIM sales in Europe. As you can see, MIM sector experienced a strong growth these last 2 decades, the sales being now above 300 million euro. The same trend is expected for 2016, as per what we have seen in the first month of the year. Our vision for MIM includes improving raw material quality, specification methods, powder as well as binders and feedstocks, developing new materials and new powder grades, widening the size range of commercially viable components and advanced processes to include more functionality into the components. This is what European members see as major trends for metal injection molding sector. And European members also see medical and automotive as the key sectors for offering the best medium-term growth perspective. HIP sector is another interesting PM sector. As you can see, its production has been stable until 2014 and is clearly suffering since then due to the weak production of components for oil industry following the decrease in prospection and extraction in oil worldwide. This is a direct consequence of the very low oil prices, a lot of projects being totally freezed today. To mention also in the HIP sector, some prototypes and developments in aerospace, we'll come back to that, later this morning. Regarding the PM hard materials sectors, as shown on the current graph, we can report stable production volumes in Europe the last years. 2015 remained stable compared to 2014 production in the range of 14,000 tons. Innovation is a major challenge in Europe to create differentiation. Raw material sourcing strategy is essential also in hard materials sectors, especially regarding tungsten, in relation to the production areas of such metal, especially China. European hard material is diversified with a broad customer base, especially in mining, construction and infrastructure, oil and gas exploration and production, steel, metals, industries, general engineering, and almost all areas of manufacturing. Last, but certainly not least, one sector that I want to comment today is additive manufacturing. It is spectacular how fast the sector grew in the last decade. A key indicator of this development is the number of additive manufacturing machines in service. As you can see on this chart, the fleet of machines in production is continuing to grow with a very significant acceleration in the last 5 years. Such trend is expected to continue. Metal additive manufacturing accounts for approximately 10% of the whole 3D printed market worldwide, including all materials. And this worldwide market is now estimated to be more than $1 billion, which means that metal 3D printing market could be today estimated at $100 million worldwide. Vision for additive manufacturing includes faster development cycles through integrated solutions, software modeling, for example, processing equipment, inspection systems. But it is also vital to optimize laser processing of advanced materials, heat treatment processes, and to improve the additive manufacturing process robustness and performance by better powder handling. Process development, speed, part size standardization of machines are part of the challenges to come. Sectors with best prospects for additive manufacturing are seen by our European members in aerospace, medical, and tooling. Of course, additive manufacturing is facing competition with other technologies like casting or machining. Additive manufacturing is also facing the challenge of the lack of international standards on properties for additive manufacturing materials, as well as insufficient awareness of AM in general by customers and their designers. Now, let's talk a little bit about EPMA itself. You have seen how much our markets are dynamic in their growth and how much they offered also development opportunities and perspective to all of us. It is of utmost importance that our association supports, anticipates, gives impetus to such a trend. As you know, EPMA is a non-profit association serving the PM industry since 1989. It counts, as Lionel said, 188 corporate members from 29 countries worldwide. It is the highest level of corporate membership ever. The association has 5 sectoral groups: European structural parts groups, European hard materials groups, European PM hot isostatic processing group, European metal injection molding group, and European additive manufacturing group. European PM supply chain is, in my eyes, unique due to the technological quality of all the players involved all over the supply chain. Powder producers, part designers, and part producers in all PM sectors, specific equipment manufacturers, and more than 20 R&D actors working on PM in Europe. Successful development in PM results from the optimization of the activity of all those players all over the supply chain at all stages of the supply chain. All sectoral groups are entangled from powder to the parts, including, of course, all design and constructors of specific equipment and specific machinery manufacturers, and of course with the strong support of R&D. I believe it's quite unique to have that industry developing all along a supply chain with different skills and a big variety of skills. Of course, the support and the participation of end users is vital, and I would suggest that all of us take any opportunity to promote PM technologies at them in order to have their number and awareness of PM increased. Our association has 3 key missions I'm going to develop. Firstly, the association represents and developed PM technology at European level, being an essential link between our companies and what is happening in Brussels, especially on legislative matters in our field of activity. Reach and workers' exposure conditions to powder being, of course, a key topic. Another mission of the association is to promote the European PM industry within Europe as well as internationally. PM technology is promoted using all main communication media such as seminars, technical conferences, shared global property database, as well as how-to guides for end users. Finally, EPMA develops the future of PM by creating spaces that could have various forms summed up on the slide, where debates, reflection, technical discussions, shared R&D programs, emulative exchanges can take place, and of course, such as this Congress. These have been, over the past 25 years, and remain the core missions of EPMA. If you are not yet a member, there are some not yet a member, please don't hesitate to join. Let us now turn to the vision for the next decade for our PM industry. Here are the main points I kept from the European Industry Roadmap, which has been released last year and which you have found in your bags while registration. In terms of development and activity, the PM industry is aiming to be recognized by 2025 as, firstly, a resource-efficient industrial process by which components and tools with unique properties, high quality and superior performances are used in a wide range of critical and demanding applications. PM is the preferred net-shape metal forming process for components with special properties and requirements for a wide range of critical and demanding applications. The European PM industry is recognized as the world leader in technology application and productivity, leading to enhanced growth and profitability. It should continue to take the lead as it has been the case in the past decades. And finally, PM is a source of constant innovation. Innovation for European industry, and you know how much I am supportive towards innovation and creativity in our sectors. And innovation which we must maintain and strengthen for the future. To conclude, I would like to stress that I'm absolutely convinced, and I already shared that last year, but each year I am even more convinced that PM industry has a great development potential in the coming years. You have seen that we have a very strong base today in Europe with high quality players. I am more than ever convinced that we have, with our PM industry, we are called to play a key role in the industrial development. Why? Because PM is fast-moving, lean, sustainable, cost-efficient, and innovative. I am sure that these conference days are unique and are a unique opportunity for our industry to ignite new ideas, to ignite new developments, as well as to initiate new contacts between you all in order to prepare a bright future for our PM industry. Thank you for your attention.